Welcome to the Seven Figure Leaders podcast. This podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. And there you'll find the link to apply. Welcome, and today we've got Joe Hopson from UPR Scaffolding. Welcome, Joe.
Good morning. Good morning, Tom.
So tell us the journey that you've been on with UPR Scaffolding.
So UPR Scaffolding was actually started by my dad, John, around 20 years ago. It'll be 20 years next year. The business has always been focused on scaffolding. We initially started out in London, but we've since moved to some new premises in Essex in the last few years. So our business is focused now solely on new build housing developers. But in the past, we've done an array of scaffolding, many different forms to it. But for myself, I joined the business in 2013. Before this, I was working for a main contractor. So I got into construction as soon as I left school. Always wanted to be in some form of construction. Wasn't quite sure what. Obviously, I'd seen what my dad had done with the scaffolding side. But if I'm really honest, at the time, it wasn't really for me. Scaffolding didn't really appeal to me as much when I was a young man. My brother was a scaffolder. My younger brother then got into scaffolding. But for me, I always went to do something else. But I ended up joining business 13 years ago. So I've done 4 years at a main contractor. Really enjoyed myself there. Was in college, starting my studying. And then, my dad called me and gave me an opportunity and wanted me to come on board. And he just wanted to change sort of the dynamics of the scaffolding business at the time. It was quite old fashioned, quite stuck in his ways with a few different things. He wanted a bit of a different mindset attached to it. Hence why he brought me on board, as well as a couple of other guys at the same time. And so since then, I've just sort of been slowly climbing the ladder from quantity surveyor to commercial manager. I was then made a director in 2020 and then managing director about 18 months later. And then, it's going quite well. It's going really well. It's crazy to think it's been 13 years, to be honest, of how quickly that time's gone. And then actually about 18 months ago, I actually completed on a management buyout with my dad as well. So the business is completely mine. So it has been quite a whirlwind, to be honest, when you add it all up. But it's gone quick.
Okay, wow. So you've obviously been through a lot in the business. And what's happened to the business since you first joined it 13 years ago up until today?
I think we've just become a lot more modernised and a lot more up with the times. Like I say, at the time we were working in quite a small, dingy office in Essex. Without boring all the details, it was like you walked in, people would be smoking at their desks. There was a bit of an old-fashioned feel to it. There wasn't much of a uniform to the office. People sort of wore what they want. So just on that side of things, we've definitely become a lot more modernised. Now everyone from my side now wears a shirt and ties to the office every day. We're a lot smarter. The office premises that we've got now are a lot nicer. We had a prefabricated building made about 7 years ago. It's all glass partitioning. It's a nice working environment. I just tried to bring a bit of the main contractor that I worked for before had really nice offices and everyone wore a smart outfit to work every day, smart uniform. So I just tried to bring that on board with since I've come over. And just in terms of the business outside of the office as well, we've become a lot more professional. We've become a lot more friendly, I suppose you would say. I mean, you can imagine scaffolding's got quite a reputation for. There's a bit of a stigma attached to scaffolding, isn't there, if you're honest, of what a scaffolder is and how he sounds and what he looks like. So we just I personally have tried to change that a lot since I've been here because that's not me. I don't fit into that sort of stereotype. So I've just tried to do it my own way.
And in terms of growth, what did the business look like in terms of size when you started versus now?
So in terms of size, when I started in 2013, our turnover was around 4 to 4.5 million. Pretty much same size office team, if I'm honest. When we look back, there was probably a lot of people there, probably a few too many people looking back, but regardless. It was about 4.5 million. In terms of blokes out on the ground, we had probably 40 blokes working for us out on the ground, all subcontractors, but still 40 of them working out on the ground. And then in terms of where we are now, our annual turnover's just over 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So our bracket is between 10 and 11 million at the minute. It's not the easiest market to be working in because we are predominantly new build housing developers, which is a tough market at the minute. Office team now is around 15, and scaffolders out working on the ground, again, still all subcontractors, but we've got around 100 scaffolders working now. So effectively, it's just over doubled in the last 13 years.
And what's been behind the doubling of that revenue? What's caused that or driven that?
I think what's driven it is having the right people here, obviously myself included, but having the right people here that wanted to drive that on. I think it's having the right client base and picking the right clients. I mean, it's not always, in business, you can't always be too picky over who you work for. But along the way, we have narrowed down our market to the right people, and also avoided certain clients along the way as well, certain people along the way. So I think it's just being selective of who we've worked for and being able to grow with them businesses as well. So rather than just working for, A, B, and C, we're sort of selective of who we think is going to be a long-term partner for us, a long-term client for us. And hopefully, for as long as we're doing a good job along the way, growing the business as they grow theirs. Then obviously you've got the national house builders who, again, we done quite a bit of work for, but we didn't really branch out into other areas of the country. So predominantly we were based in Essex and London, whereas when we looked at it, some of the companies we were working for or are working for around them areas also work in other areas of the country. So some of the national house builders from Essex have got offices in Kent, have got offices in Bedfordshire, have got offices in Milton Keynes, offices in Suffolk. So we've moved into them offices on the back of the work that we're doing in the more local areas. And that's really helped us grow in the last few years, particularly.
Mm. And you said that there are some challenges in the scaffolding industry at the moment. Obviously, for you, you're focused on residential builders. Residential building market is slow at the moment. What else
Very
is
slow.
going on? What are the kind of general challenges in the industry that you're tackling at the moment?
The general challenges that we're tackling, there's definitely an aging workforce. A simple way of saying it is that there's more people leaving than there are joining. There's not much appetite at in the young ages for people to get into construction, and particularly into scaffolding. It's quite a physically demanding job. You can't always offer the same rates of pay as other businesses or other walks of life. So it is a tough sell for someone when they're first coming into the industry. I don't, long term, the earning potential is great, but when they're first starting out as a labourer, effectively, they have to be paid accordingly. So to do that in scaffolding is quite tough. So there's definitely that aging population. There's aging workforce, sorry, and there's not as much help either. So there's a lot of training incentives out there. CITB are one of them, a training board. They don't really offer much help. The training costs involved in being a scaffolder now are extortionate. Talking thousands of pounds just to get started. So you imagine if you're 17, 18, leaving school, it's going to cost you a couple of £1,000 within the first 2 years of you working, just to be able to become the next step on this as a scaffolder. And then it continues all throughout. It probably takes you the best part of 8 to 10 years to get all your qualifications. And every few years, there's a couple of £1,000 cost in it, as well as some time off work. And I feel like that's an issue. And also when you talk of the younger generation, not as many of them want to do the hard work anymore. So they would rather be on, YouTube, crypto, whatever the online platforms are for apparently earning all this money. They see that as more of an attraction than they do coming to work on a building site and coming to work as a scaffolder. So that's definitely an issue for us. So we're trying our hardest to change that from our side. We're talking to a lot of schools. We're talking to training boards. We're talking to armed forces who have got veterans that have left the forces. We're talking to prisons for people that come out of prison. Just everything that we can really to think outside the box. because it is a known problem in the industry. It just doesn't seem to be anyone doing anything about it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so obviously, given all that, you've still managed to double your revenue in the last 10 years. So obviously, you're doing something right. So what is more specifically than kind of a few minutes ago? What is behind that growth, and how have you grown with those challenges?
I think it's just persistence. I think it's just we never want to be the biggest scaffolding contractor in the country, but we've just got a mindset where we want to be the best and we want to be everyone's first choice. So where we get on board with a customer, we pride ourselves on doing a good job for them. And then hopefully that leads on to more opportunities with that customer. And naturally that helps you grow, because rather than focusing just on the numbers and saying we want to double our turnover or triple our turnover, we just focus on getting on board with the right clients in the right areas and doing a really good job for them as best as we can. And as long as you do that, this is what we found anyway. As long as we do that, it's enabled us to grow through more business opportunities.
Yeah.
So rather than chasing turnover and potentially doing a bad job along the way, or employing the wrong people, employing the wrong staff, putting the wrong scaffolders on the jobs, it's better to focus on doing a good job and then hopefully growing with them on the back of it. So that's definitely one aspect. I feel like we've got a younger team in the last 7 or 8 years as well. We've definitely got more enthusiasm in the office, people that are career minded, people that want to push on, people that want to develop. So in order for them to develop and grow, the business has got to develop and grow as well. So they're all a big part of that. So that's definitely been a mindset change that we've seen the last few years, is getting some younger blood in and giving them opportunities.
Yeah. And what does your day to day look like now that you're the MD and the owner? And how has that changed over the last few years as your role has become more senior?
Yeah, it's changed dramatically, to be honest, because I came from a commercial background. So when I started here, I was a quantity surveyor. So my main focus was on the commercial aspects of the jobs. And then gradually over the years, it turned into more of a management role of the commercial side, and obviously then director, which was then overseeing multiple parts of business. But obviously now it's all of it. So in honest, the day to day is difficult to have a structure to sometimes. So I set out what I want to do at the start of the week. I'm quite simplistic. I have a board in my office where I write out my plans for the week for each day. I actually have all my staff on there as well, so they tell me what they're up to. And it's not a case of keeping on top of people. It's just going through their plans so that I can talk about them then. So if there's any input that I have along that week, that's when we have the conversation, rather than getting to the end of the week and looking back and thinking, oh, I missed an opportunity to do something. So I set my plan out at the start of the week, but invariably there's challenges that come along the way. It could be something along the lines of, we have a vehicle breakdown, we have a lorry issue, we have an issue on a job, we have a job that we were tendering that we thought we were going to win, which we don't. There's all these challenges that come up, but you're sort of beholden to other people in that aspect, because obviously that's to do with staff and clients coming back to us with information that then changes my day. But I try to be on site at least 1 or 2 days a week. I try to catch up with clients at least once a week. So just as long as I have them aspects diarised, and then everything else around it just sort of comes in, and I deal with it as it comes in. That's not to say I jump on it straight away, because obviously you'd end up becoming a busy fool. But again, I just make a plan for it. So I have certain days of the week where I catch up with certain people in the business, and then other days are diarised sites, and other days are diarised for clients. So over a 5-day working week, it goes pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And so what's next for the business? Where are you hoping to get to?
We're hoping to maintain where we're at the minute. In the areas that we're operating now, which is pretty vast for where we're based. We're hoping to maintain where we are in this tough market, and then as and when the market turns, that's the crystal ball that no one's got at the minute, as when that's going to be. Then I would hope to think that there's some more growth opportunities for us there. But in terms of where we are today, and I would say for the next 12 to 18 months at least, it's just going to be about maintaining where we're at. Like I said, we definitely don't want to be the biggest scaffolding contractor in the country, but we want to have long-term continued success. You need to be able to make a profit. And if we can do that year on year and keep going, I've got at least probably another 15 years of doing this, 15, 20 years at least. So that itself is a challenge. So it's just setting up the right principles and the right clients and the right team along the way to be able to enable me to do that.
Yeah. And so when it comes to making decisions in the business,
Yeah.
what information do you use to make the decision?
In terms of what decisions?
In terms of growing the business and deciding essentially what to do strategy wise, if there's an emergency, what information are you using to make a decision in the business?
I think just quite simply, you just have to go with your gut on a lot of these things. Obviously, I have a lot of information that feeds into me from different aspects. So my commercial team are really good. They keep on top of a lot of things in terms of money that's outstanding, in terms of turnover for the week, for the month, in terms of profitability. We look at all them key aspects a lot. We also keep on top of production, so we know where all the blokes are working. We know what sites are finishing relatively soon, which sites are starting. So there's no real surprises, is what I'm saying. So we keep on top of things daily, if not weekly, so that we don't have any real surprises. But in terms of decision making, if anything comes in or anything was to occur that sort of catches me off guard, then I just take some time, have a think through in my own head, and then that's the decision I come to.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have a monthly system of actually reviewing the numbers, the finances, and then using that to kind of drive decision making and actions for the next month?
We do, yeah, we do. We use our own internal system in terms of reporting on costs on jobs and revenue on jobs. We then discuss if there's issues where we didn't get as much revenue as we anticipated, then we discuss them on a monthly basis. We put plans in place for what we think the issue was. We put plans in place for rectifying that in the month ahead. And then obviously we have my accountant who's very good as well. So she'll feed information into me as and when I require it about, where we are today. And then it's just a case of having ideas and plans in mind for what's coming up.
Excellent. Yeah, brilliant. What we often find is that businesses, when they get to a certain point, they outgrow their kind of finance function that got them to that point. So they'll have an accountant, they have a bookkeeper, but they're both backwards looking. And then there's no one in that gap between the finance people who are backwards looking and then you who is naturally forwards looking and cares about the now and the future.
Yeah. I can see that completely. Yeah. So I've only ever known this way. So like I say, since I've been here for the last 13 years, it's only ever really been this way. Before me, it was my dad. And obviously I've lent on him over the years for advice, and, eventually you have to cut that cord. But it's, this is the sort of system it's always been. I've just inherited that, and then now I'm making it my own.
Yeah.
All it comes down to basically is just, whatever you go with your gut effectively.
Okay. And so you said the goal for now is to maintain where you're at, and then wait for the market to return, and then the business will hopefully grow a bit when the market returns. What do you think you need to do to maintain where you're at? Like what could prevent you from maintaining where you're at?
The biggest problem we're going to have is if our existing client base and existing work orders slow down even more. So towards the end of last year, we noticed a big decline in a lot of the progress on the jobs. If that doesn't pick up in the near future, then that will have an impact on this year's revenue. Clearly, it's already 3 weeks into the new year, and it has been a quiet start to the year with the challenges with the weather and the slow progress we had before Christmas. So we need that to pick up pretty soon. I'm hoping from the conversations that I've had, because I've spent a lot of time at the start of the year speaking to clients, speaking to other people in the industry, speaking to all aspects of business to see what's going on, because depending on what paper you read that day, it could be really busy one day and then completely quiet the next. So that's going to be our biggest challenge. It's just to see how fast these jobs move this year. And if they don't move fast enough and aren't moving fast enough, that will mean we have to then try and secure some other works in order to fill the gap. But my hesitancy with that is that if it was all to pick up, then we could be overtrading. So, and I don't want to do that, because then you're starting to let people down, starting to do a bad job, starting to underperform, which, like I said at the start, that's the complete opposite of what we want to achieve. So yeah, it's quite a tough market, because even though we're quiet, you're still hesitant about taking on too much new work, which is crazy when you think about it, because in most other aspects of business, when you're quiet, you go and get more work and that solves the problem. But with what we do, because it's long-term work, so a normal contracts between 18 months and 3 or 4 years, you could end up over trading quite quickly if you was to go and take on a load of new sites. So yeah, it's a very temperamental market.
I can imagine. Good. Okay, Joel, thank you very much for sharing all of that. Very useful. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience, or anyone in particular that you're looking to get connected to, or can help someone make a connection?
No, I think you've pretty much covered it, to be fair, Tom. I think it's, I really appreciate you getting me on, and yeah, nice to talk about business as well. And it'd always be good to talk more about business for anyone who wants to listen. So yeah, I appreciate you getting me on.
Great. Okay. Well, Joe Hopson, UPR Scaffolding, will make it easy for anyone who's interested to get in touch with you. And yeah, thanks very much for coming on as a guest.
Thank you. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks for listening. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of 7-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a 7-figure business owner, or someone who works with 7-figure business owners, and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. On that page, you'll find the link to apply.